What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Prepper Kitchen. Today I'm going to make an old school pioneer survival food called pemmican. If you've never heard of it, it carried lots of generations through hard winters. It started really with the Native Americans, and it's very simple. It includes meat. You can use wild game like venison or whatever. I'm going to use beef today. It needs to be a cut with all the fat trimmed away from it. I know that's going to sound weird when I talk about one of the main ingredients being tallow that you can render yourself, or you can go the easy way like I have and purchase it. And it's mixed with some kind of berry. You do have to dry the berries exceptionally dry. In this case, the easiest thing and the shortcut I'm taking is just using a mixture of freeze-dried berries that removes pretty much all the moisture. So first thing we have to do is trim this meat up into small strips and get it super dry. You can do that in a dehydrator overnight until it's really not flexible, like crunchy dry. Or you can use the oven, which I'll probably do today because that only takes 2 or 3 hours. So let's get started. Here you can see I trimmed mine into these very thin little strips so they'll dry quickly. Get rid of all the waste, any extra fat you have. And then we'll put it in the oven on a rack to dry out. And it should dry pretty quickly. See, I have it strips dried. I actually at the last minute decided to add a little bit of salt and just, you can use your own rub, but I just selected the Omaha steak seasoning and put a little bit of that on it because it just seemed like it would need the flavor after it's dry. And I'm gonna put it in the oven on the drying rack at 200 degrees. All right, this is what we're going for. You can see this all dried out. This took about 5 hours, maybe a little more. See, it sounds like hard when it falls, and when you break it, it's a clean break. It's not chewy, it's not rubbery. You want something that's gonna be brittle and break in half and not be full of moisture that would cause it to go bad. Anyway, we're going to take this and blend it up, and I will show you the process. Okay, I want to save some of these bigger chunks out. You guys learned from my mistake. I didn't cut it quite thin enough. These skinny ones did really good. They just, you can hear it almost crunching as it breaks. These, they break, but they're not quite as crunchy. I think I'm gonna save these for snack sticks. I should have cut them a little bit thinner, so stay away from even something you can see against my finger that wide and that thin. Still, after 5 hours, there's a little bit of fat and moisture in it. So, and this was a top round, which had very little fat in it, but you can see there's even a little bit of fat that still glistened out of some of these bigger pieces. So stay small. It'll be a lot easier for you and go a lot further. And all of that steak cooked down to one little cereal bowl. So let's grind it up and see how much we get. Okay, so I'm just going to use a good old blender. The natives and the old timers before modern convenience would have used a mortar and pestle, or like a stone with that was hollowed out with another grinding stone to beat it into powder. I'm going to cheat and use modern technology. I'm going to turn this off so you don't have to listen to the loud noise, and I'll show you the end result. Okay, everybody, here it is. This is what we're looking for. Look at that. It took maybe 1 minute with that crispy meat in the blender to turn it into this bowl full of really meat powder. It's almost like really fine sawdust. That's what you're looking for. You want it really ground up, so every little fiber of the meat can get coated by the tallow. So next, I'm going to show you my other mixings that I'm going to add in before we get to the tallow. I'm going to add in a little bit of freeze-dried tart cherries, just for that flavor. Of course, blueberries are one of the mainstays that a lot of people go to. And believe it or not, strawberries also. And I even have a mixed bag of raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries here. One thing I've decided to do is I'm going to put a little more nourishment in it. I'm going to add some dehydrated crispy spinach from, you can see, 2021. I've had it vacuum sealed and in my freezer all that time for the past 5 years, just for a time like this. And one thing that a lot of people do just to make it a little more palatable and even give it a little more kick, and I must add, to also help with the preservation, is they add a little bit of honey. So I think I'm gonna do that also. And so I'm gonna put these in the blender and powderize them and then mix it with the meat. But first, and very importantly, I'm gonna weigh the meat and I'll show you how to do that. This is important. You want to zero your scale with your container on it and then add the meat. Here you can see I have 10.3 ounces of meat. So the meat and the tallow has to be at least 50-50. You don't want to go less than that. Otherwise you'll run the risk of not having enough to really coat the meat well and preserve it. Some people will do a lot more tallow to the meat. It depends on what you're looking for. You're in a really cold climate, maybe you want that fat, but I'm going to go just with the 50-50 mix. So I'm going to put 10.3, it timed out on me, of ounces of tallow to the meat. And then you just add in your berries and whatever else you want to do, seasoning. I'm going to do the berries and the spinach and a little bit of honey, and then we'll melt the tallow and add it together. I'll come back then. Okay, here we go. These are the ingredients: the meat, the 10.3 ounces of rendered tallow, beef tallow, and I mixed my spinach flakes and all of my different freeze-dried berries together. Next step is going to be to start the mixing. And I'm also, I told you, going to add a little bit of honey. You can see I got Thousand Hills, very clean beef tallow from Azure. So let's mix it up. All right, so the key before I add the berries is going to be to get the fat coating the meat, because that's the most critical. So just pour it around and then we're going to mix it in. It's going to turn a really dark color, but the thing is, you don't want any air pockets. You don't want any piece of meat uncoated. That's why you do the meat first and then you add in your other ingredients next. So we're just going to do this, make sure it's good and coated, then add in the powdered berries. If you want to do it more of a chewy texture, you can use just dried berries, so they're a little bit gummier. That's fine. For me, I'm going to use the completely freeze-dried because I know that it'll extend the life. And I'm going to add a little bit of honey in as well. Okay, there you go. That's looks a little bit gooey, but this powdered meat and then of course these berries and the spinach will continue to soak it up, and then of course it's going to harden. Keep in mind I have melted this, so it's still liquefied tallow, and as it soaks up and gets back to room temperature, it will solidify into a hard cake. And the reason you want that meat coated first, as I said, it prevents it from going bad, but it completely seals that meat. So there won't be any way the air can even get into the meat, even if there was a little bit of moisture. So I went ahead and added the honey too, the liquids first, after I got the meat and the tallow good mixed. And so I'm just going to keep mixing these berries in and then form it into cakes. All right, there you go. And I tasted of it just straight like this, and it's actually pretty good. You can see little chunks of berries in there, the meat. So, you know, imagine the natives doing this, or the pioneers early in American history. They would have just probably made little cakes, maybe put it in some you know, leather or some kind of skin container and let it harden. And since I'm modern and soft, I'm going to make it into cupcakes. But here's the interesting thing. I haven't measured this myself, but I can tell you that one of these cupcake holders full is estimated to be between 1,700 and 2,000 calories. Right there. That's 1,700, 2,000 calories. That's a day's worth of nourishment for a grown man. So if you've got hard times, or just trying to survive, or maybe you're just wanting to make something different on a long journey, like a hike or whatever. One of these will get you through the day. And just think about what kind of stew you can make. If you found some wild edibles, or some kind of vegetables or whatever, you could take dehydrated or freeze-dried vegetables, mix it together with one of these cakes, and have a big pot of stew for your family. So I'm going to fill these up, and then I'm going to put them in the refrigerator to chill, and I'll come back and show you the finished product. Here we go. It has set up in the refrigerator for a little bit. Look at that. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was dessert. Let's see what it looks like inside. It's pretty hard. There we go. Look at that. Boy, that is some dense, dense nourishment right there. That is just nothing but calories. So, you guys should try it out too. This will last 1 to 5 years. I'm going to go with, in my case, the great ingredients I have and as much tallow. I'm going to say 5 years just on the shelf. Wrap that in butcher's wax paper. Sit it on a cool, dark shelf in your pantry. It'll last 5 years. I'm going to vacuum seal mine and put it in the freezer, so the storage is indefinite. Look at that. I mean, that is just some dense calories right there. So, until next time, seek the wisdom of your Lord and Savior. God bless. Do something to be prepared. I'm the Bearded Prepper, signing off.